Welcome to the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. My name is Frank. I'm the host of the show. This is a movie podcast where I discuss and review movies new and old. On this episode, I'm going to be discussing and reviewing Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, the sequel to the hit 2019 film Knives Out, written and directed by Rian Johnson. Before I get into the review, a little bit about the show. Again, this is a movie podcast where I discuss and review movies new and old. You can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcast, or you can watch the podcast in one of three places. You can watch it on Twitter. Just follow the show at Bend Your Ear Pod is the handle. You can also watch the show on Facebook under Let Me Bend Your Ear, or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, Let Me Bend Your Ear Podcast, and you'll get notified when the show goes live to record new episodes. So you have three locations to watch it. If you choose to watch it on Twitter, just go to the profile at Bend Your Ear Pod, click on the likes column on my profile there, and you'll be able to see all the video podcasts. Also, you can go to the website if you want to download the podcast all the way back to episode 1. If you're not using a podcasting app, you can do it at letmebendyourear.com. If you want to email the show, the email is bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com. So let's go ahead and get into the review. A little bit of discussion about Glass Onion before we get into the review itself. So in 2019, Rian Johnson wrote and directed Knives Out with a large cast, basically kind of a revisiting of the Agatha Christie type mysteries, like Murder on the Orient Express, a large cast, a very smart detective. Someone is murdered and he spends the movie trying to solve it. So Knives Out was a surprise hit, I think, in 2019. Rian Johnson had come off directing The Last Jedi, which of course is the polarizing Star Wars sequel. People either love it or hate it. He's been an acclaimed director, though, working on Looper, which is one of my favorite sci-fi films. And of course, like I said, Last Jedi. So this came out 2019 and became a surprise hit. I think it was did better than most anybody expected it to do. The first movie I haven't reviewed for the podcast, I was right actually as I started the podcast. I enjoyed the first Knives Out film. Thought it was clever. I thought the mystery was clever, and really enjoyed it. Great cast. Yeah, Christopher Plummer, Don Johnson, Jamie Lee Curtis, Chris Evans, Anna de Armas. He had a very big cast. Very good. All excellent. Lakeith Stanfield as well. So the sequel, before I get into that, so the original studio Lionsgate greenlit a sequel for Knives Out after the hit it became. So there was going to be a sequel regardless, produced by Lionsgate, but Netflix swooped in, and I remember reading the story when it happened. Netflix kind of swooped in and bought the rights to Knives Out, not only for a sequel, but for a third film. And from what I read, it was about $469 million for the rights to the film. So this first sequel, Knives Out, or excuse me, I keep saying Knives Out, Glass Onion, was shot in Greece, and it was distributed for 1 week in theaters, and then it is now playing on Netflix, and I think that's what's going to be happening with the third film as well. So the second film, obviously, it's got the same main character, so I think Rian Johnson's goal is to have this be like I said, the Hercule Poirot series of movies, with him being the central character and each film having a different cast and, of course, a different crime. So, of course, he plays Benoit Blanc, the world-renowned detective. So as this movie opens, we find a group of people that are brought together from an invitation in an elaborately staged kind of puzzle box. And several people get this box to come to the island of a very rich billionaire, kind of like I don't know if you want to call him an Elon Musk type billionaire, someone with just tons and tons of money. And that character is played by Edward Norton, the great actor. He plays Miles Braun. So he invites several of his friends over to an island to celebrate a weekend. So it looks, as the movie progresses, we find out that they do this every year, I believe, where they get together. So they've known each other since they were all in college. So they have this connection as a group of friends. So you have Janelle Monáe as Helen. You have Catherine Hahn as Claire DeBella. She's running for Senate. She's a governor now. You have Leslie Odom Jr. as Lionel Toussaint. He's a scientist that works for the billionaire Miles Braun. You have Kate Hudson as Birdie J. She is a supermodel, and she's hilarious in the movie. We'll get into the performances shortly. So she knows Miles and works for his company as well. And then you have Dave Bautista, of course, Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, as Duke Cody. He's a video game streamer and has have followings on YouTube, and he's like an influencer, for lack of a better term. And you also have Madeline Klein as Whiskey Duke's girlfriend, and Jessica Hardwick as Peg Brody's assistant. So that's the main cast in the film. So they're all brought to this island, and Benoit Blanc is also brought to this island. He receives one of these puzzle boxes and is invited to the island. He's kind of puzzled because he doesn't really know anybody here. He really has no connection to any of these people, especially the person that's organizing this trip to this island. But anyway, he ends up going, and you meet all the characters. They all gather together. They're all friends, and of course, Benoit's kind of an outsider, not knowing why he's there. And as we come to find out as the movie progresses, is that he was not actually invited by the host, but by some unknown party. So that's part of one of the mysteries that goes on in the film. So he's there for a particular reason. So as everybody is gathered, Miles Braun basically tells them that they're going to be involved in basically a murder weekend. So basically, he has let them know that he will be murdered, quote unquote murdered, and it will be up to them to figure out who did it, and the person that figures out who murdered him will win the game. So that's essentially what happens. So that's the setup for Glass Onion. I don't want to say too much more after that, because kind of like the first Knives Out, there's some things that happen that are actually really surprising. One major thing that happens that's really surprising, so I don't want to get into that at all. But that's the basic setup of the film. So when this event takes place, so if you know the story, you know that there is a murder, an actual murder, and Benoit Blanc is on the case to solve it. So again, I can't get too much into it because then that'll be spoilers. I don't want to do that. So what I will do is get into kind of the performances. So let me start with Daniel Craig. So of course he is he's known as James Bond. I knew him before then in one of my favorite underrated Tom Hanks films, Road to Perdition. He played Paul Newman's son in that movie, and he was fantastic, and he's great in that movie. And that was 2002, I think that movie came out. But of course, he's known as James Bond, worldwide star. And as in the first Knives Out, particularly in this movie, he's having a ball playing this part. I mean, you can tell it's completely different than James Bond. He leans into the accent. He leans into the eccentricities of the Blanc character, and that's the main reason to watch this movie. To be honest with you, is just watching him enjoy this performance. You can tell he loves playing this character, and I think he would do it for the rest of his career if they keep making these movies. They're going to make at least another one, and I think he truly enjoys just the departure from James Bond and just really inhabiting this character, and he's fantastic, and he's the main reason to watch this film. Now, as far as the rest of the cast, I think the rest of the cast is excellent. Edward Norton's always great. Janelle Monáe is, like I said, she's always luminous to look at. She's just a captivating presence on screen. So her character is great. Catherine Hahn is funny. Kate Hudson is really great, too. Her character is a politically incorrect supermodel who always basically sticks her foot in her mouth and gets herself in trouble. And she's great. Dave Bautista is, over the top in a good way, as his character Cody as well. So as the murder mystery progresses, so obviously you're given clues and things like that. And like I said, there are two major surprises that happen in the film, and again, I'm not going to give them away. That are clever, and I thought were entertaining. So I thought they really did a good job with that. Now, what I will say is the locations were beautiful. I know they shot it in Greece. You can tell it's beautifully shot. Like I said, the acting's fantastic. My issue with the movie, though, and it's funny, I was watching it. The movie is 2 hours, I think, in 16 minutes or 19 minutes, something like that. Unfortunately, unlike the first Knives Out, this movie felt a little long to me. That was my major criticism of it. The movie's not bad. It's just it seemed a little bit bloated. Now, Ryan Johnson's screenplay, he's telling a lot of story and setting things up for the things that are may surprise you, good or bad. So there was a lot of it's definitely more ambitious than Knives Out, and it's bigger than Knives Out, and that's not necessarily a good thing all the time. I don't think it completely derails the movie, but I do think I felt it being a little bit long. So if you asking me, I think if they would have cut it closer to 2 hours, I think that would have been better as a viewing experience. So that's my major issue with the movie, was the length of it. I thought it was a little bit too long, and I thought the story dragged a little bit. But like I said, within that, there was still a lot of surprises, kind of the way they worked through the murder. And is it the best murder mystery ever made or one of the best? No, it's not. But the enjoyment of watching this film, I think, and this will really determine your level of how much you would like it or dislike it. It's really the performances that make you want to stay. So like the first Knives Out, you have a great group of actors that are having a great time. Like I think just like Daniel Craig is as an actor, I think the other actors are just having a wonderful time playing these characters, because each character is eccentric in their own way. They each get a chance to kind of shine in particular moments in the film. So I think, in the next Knives Out, the third movie, I'm sure he's going to get another great cast of people that are going to want to join this universe of Benoit Blanc, and I think they're going to want to play in that kind of sandbox, and that's the biggest reason to watch Glass Onion. If you enjoy that, enjoy the performances, and enjoy the good acting, and enjoy Daniel Craig, like I said, just really reveling and playing this character. So that's the main reason to like it or to watch it. So if that's your main thought going in, I think you're going to enjoy the movie more. If you're looking to pick apart the mystery and nitpick on things that may not be consistent or don't make sense, then yeah, your enjoyment of the film is probably going to be diminished at some point or somewhat. So that's really my take on the film. So I think, like I said, it was for me, it was a fun watch. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I really enjoyed it for the performances more than the mystery, even though there was at least one of the two surprises really got me. So I liked really one of them. But like I said, for me, the movie, the enjoyment lies in the performances and how the story kind of weaves around within those performances. So that's my main reason that I enjoyed Glass Onion. So again, it is on Netflix now, written and directed by Rian Johnson. Of course, large cast: Daniel Craig, Janelle Monáe, Kate Hudson, Dave Bautista, Edward Norton, Leslie Odom Jr., among others. So great cast. Like I said, I think it's a fun movie. Like I said, I don't think it's as good as the first movie. I think, like I said, it's a little bit bloated, a little bit too long for me. But again, it doesn't mar my enjoyment of it. So I'm going to give Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, I'm going to give it 3.5 Van Goghs out of 5. So on that scale, for me, it's a good, decent film. It's not a great movie. I know a lot of people, the critics, have loved it. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's a good movie. And I think you'll be entertained if you like that type of film. And if you like Daniel Craig's performance as Benoit Blanc, I think you will enjoy it. And like I said, it's a fun movie to watch. Like I said, I don't consider it a classic or a great one, but it was entertaining. So that's my review, 3.5 Van Goghs out of 5 for Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, written and directed by Rian Johnson. If you haven't seen the first Knives Out, I would highly recommend it. I'm sure it's streaming anywhere you can get it or you can rent it. That movie's really good. The mystery in that movie is really good as well. I thought it was excellent and well done. Again, 3.5 Van Goghs out of 5 for Glass Onion. So again, if you want to watch this podcast, like I said, there's 3 places you can watch it. Facebook, Let Me Bend Your Ear. Like the page. You can see all the video podcasts there. Twitter, @BendYourEarPod is the handle. Go there. Click on the likes column. All the video podcasts are there as well. And follow me on Twitter. 3rd place, Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast on YouTube, the YouTube channel. If you subscribe there, you'll get notifications whenever the show goes live to watch the show there, or you can watch it, of course, at your leisure. And, of course, this podcast you can listen to wherever you get podcasts. So that includes Amazon, now on iHeartRadio. Always forget that. iHeartRadio, it's on. It is on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, and Spotify, among others. If you go to Google and type in Let Me Binge Your Ear podcast, you'll be able to find it very easily. It's pretty much on every other podcaster. The ones I've named, and some even unofficially, because I think people just get feeds. So it's there if you want to find it and listen to it at your leisure. A couple things I want to ask if you are a fan of the podcast. First of all, thank you for listening and or watching. I appreciate it. If you want to help this podcast, there's two things you can do to help. First, on Twitter, if you see my posts, that's where I'm most active. Please like, share, retweet my posts on new shows, or if I'm tweeting, feel free to tweet me. I tweet back, DM back, everything. I'd love to do that. Also, I'm on Instagram. I forgot about that. At Bend Your Ear Pod. The show the video podcasts are starting to be there, but it's only going to be the first 5 or 6 minutes of each episode because there's a limit on how you can, upload a certain video unless you're doing a live there. And I don't have the means to do that yet, but I am starting to post the first 5 minutes of each episode. So if you want to watch it there, you can finish it either at YouTube or at Twitter or at Facebook, but they will be there as well. So you can follow me on Instagram at Bend Your Ear Pod. The second thing you can do to help the show, if you don't mind, wherever you listen to the show, whatever podcasting app you use, if you can give it a 5-star review, and especially if you love it, if you can do that, rate and review. The more ratings and review an independent podcast can get, or any podcast for that matter, the higher that show shows up in search results. So if somebody's looking for a new movie podcast, as a podcast listener myself, you have a number that you listen to, and sometimes you run out. They're not making new episodes, and you're looking for something new to listen to while you're waiting. Definitely, if you can do that, if you can rate and review this show, if you're a fan, I would appreciate that. That'll help boost the audience. I'm looking to boost viewership and, of course, listenership of the podcast. So if you could do that, that would be great. If you have any suggestions or any feedback, you can email the show. Again, the email is bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com. And I would encourage you, even if you listen on a podcasting app, to go to the website. The website is letmebendyyourear.com. Every episode from episode 1 is there as well. You can download it from the website. And also the video podcast links to the YouTube channel are there as well. So please check out the website and let me know what you think. And again, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, I've given 3.5 Van Goghs out of 5. So check it out. It's on Netflix now. And again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I may do another episode tonight. That'll be next week. We'll see. But again, I really appreciate everybody listening and watching. Have a fantastic evening. Take care.